Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode here in NHL 25. So last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the first round of the playoffs against the San Jose Sharks, and as you'd expect, we ended up losing that series quite convincingly in a 4-game sweep. Now, obviously, we kind of expected it because they were a really good offensive team during the season. We were more of a defensive team, and we kind of over-assimilated by quite a long shot, especially after trading guys away like Sheldon Souray. So we end up getting swept, as you can see, 4-2 loss, a 5-4 loss. So we almost won one game at least. Then we lost 6-3 and 6-1. So the Sharks offense pretty much overpowered us in that first round matchup. Washington went on to win the Stanley Cup, which means they have pulled off a back-to-back Stanley Cup win. And Manchester won the AHL, so they've also pulled off a back-to-back Calder Cup championship in this franchise mode so far. So kind of an interesting run so far in this start this franchise mode. Hopefully in this offseason we could tear down enough that our team isn't going to be a playoff team next season, because I would really like to start this rebuild as fast as possible, just because obviously it could take a while before we actually get back to playoff status if we are building around the current guys that we have on our roster, like some of the younger guys like Gagne and Cogliano, and then hopefully we could draft some good players to kind of surround those guys with and make this team a really good team that could actually compete for multiple years at a time. But with that said, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys had to say about last episode, and then we will get into the 2011 NHL draft. We'll see what we end up snagging up, and then we'll also get into the Resign stage and see who we end up letting go of. So the first comment is from Jared the Rabbit, who says, "This is what I anticipated last year," and yeah, it's pretty much what I anticipated last year as well, like, because we did go up against Detroit. We ended up beating them, which was really surprising last year, but Detroit was definitely a team that should have overpowered us, but we managed to cheese them. But this time around, obviously, we couldn't cheese really the Sharks. The Sharks were technically the lower seeded team too against us in the playoffs, but they just had a lot of offensive threats on that team, and I could understand why they were able to beat us quite easily, just because their top 6 was quite nasty, their top 9 in general. Like, I guess they end up only getting to the next round and getting swept, I guess. Yeah, so they swept us, and then they got swept in the second round, which is kind of surprising to me, but they have really good depth. Like, if you look at everybody's overall on this team, you can see they just have a plethora of talent that's above like an 84 overall, so they definitely should win a Stanley Cup at some point in the franchise mode. If they don't, obviously that would be kind of realistic, but yeah, definitely a really good team there in San Jose. I'm surprised that Nabokov didn't retire yet, but he probably will be getting close. Like, that's definitely one thing that could be a little bit weak for the Sharks down the road, is their goaltending situation. So will be interesting to see what they do to combat that. The next comment is from Andy, who says, "I think you should try and move up in the draft, maybe try and get a top 10 pick, but not give up too much of it." And moving into the top 10 in a throwback franchise mode is usually quite tough, so we could look into it, but I believe the value for a top 10 pick would probably be way too much. So probably the best thing we are going to do is probably stay pat with our current picks, because currently if we go to our draft selections here, where is it? Draft board. You can see we do have our first round pick at 24th. We do have multiple seconds, which is nice. So we could maybe use them to move up in the bit in the first round. But at the same time, I don't know if it'd be really worth it to us, because maybe the more picks, the better in a sense. But then we do have picks in every other round. So we only really have a second rounder that's an extra. Hopefully we can get some good steals with those selections as well, and then that helps build up our prospect pool, because right now when we look at like our forward depth chart, for instance, you can see we're an E rated overall, defense we're E, and same with goaltending. And then you could look at our top prospects, it says neutral for goaltending, strength for defense, which is kind of a surprise. I don't know if they consider guys like Chorney and Spiza as prospects or what, but I don't really say our defense is a huge prospect strength. And then for forward prospects, it says it's a strength too. Which, I mean, I guess that one makes maybe a bit more sense, because you could probably still put guys like Jordan Eberle, Cogliano, and Gagne into that mix. Riley Nash might be making the NHL. We have guys like Ryan Jones who aren't super old. So technically, I can understand why our offensive prospects is good. Also, guys like Alexander Burmistrov, who's still unsigned at the moment, Cody Hodgson. So we definitely have, I'd say, a better strength on forward than probably in defense and in goaltending. Now, goaltending, I guess technically we do have Grubauer and that guy we brought in from the trade during the season. but we don't know really how they'll develop. But I think Grubauer is probably going to end up making the NHL in a few years still, which is good. Tuo Mainen's probably still like 5+ years away unless he gets a lot of growth within one season. And the last and final comment is from Simon Taco. Says, I wouldn't try to move up now. See if you could get more futures with a Hemsky trade. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to throw up after seeing that draft lottery results. And yeah, the draft lottery result was kind of weird because Nikita Kucherov is going to be likely a New York Ranger, which is kind of strange. So I know Saturn Taco being a Tampa fan, obviously that's kind of almost like Martin St. Louis being on the Rangers. It's just as gross probably, or even grosser. But who knows, maybe Tampa will trade St. Louis in this universe for Nikita Kucherov or something like that. That would be kind of hilarious if that happened, but I highly doubt it now with Kucherov being obviously a really good player to add to that Rangers group. So, but he says not to move up now and to try and get future picks for Ales Hemsky. So that's probably what we'll end up looking for Ales Hemsky, because he is signed for one more year pretty much on his deal at $4.1 million before he becomes a free agent, as you can see here. So we'll probably look to flip him for future picks. Obviously, kind of sucks to move him away in the same time because I am going to have to get a screenshot of like Sam Gagner playing, so that way I could use him in the thumbnail for the next episode after this one. But we will look to trade away Hemsky and see if we could capitalize on his value. Guys like Patrick O'Sullivan and stuff like that, we might wait till the prior episode, like free agency and stuff like that. Same with Tom Gilbert. Like, I'm not as sold on trading those guys away as fast as possible. But we could definitely look into potential assets at the draft as well for those type of guys. So, because I think trading all those type of guys for futures rather than current picks might make a little bit more sense. Some of the draft classes ahead, like 2013, for instance, I'd say is a lot stronger than this 2011 class. So that's what we'll probably look to do. We'll also see if we can maybe get Sean Horkoff to waive his no movement clause, but there's probably no guarantee that he'd be willing to waive at this point in his career. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into this. So first and foremost, is there a way to get Sean Horkoff to waive? I guess I could just talk to him right now already. Like if I go down to Horkoff, can I actually ask him about his clause already before we go into the draft? Yes, I can. Yeah, we might as well see if he's willing to waive it already at this point. So let's chat about your clause in your contract. What does he say? What about my clause? Could you give us a couple teams to maybe be willing to be traded to? Let's go 3, or I could go outright waive. Outright waive is very risky, apparently, and same with the other ones. Like 2 teams is risky, 3 teams is very risky. So maybe we'll do 2 teams instead of 3. 3 would be nice, but I feel like it's a lot harder to probably get him for 3. So let's see if he can provide us 2 teams that he'd be willing to be traded to. And he says, this is unexpected. I'm feeling settled here, and I'm not looking for trades. So that's unfortunate. So we won't be able to move on from Sean Horkoff just yet. We might have to look and see if we could re-ask him that question again at the start of the next season. But for right now, he is still going to be staying here as a member of the Edmonton Oilers. I hate kind of asking him about doing that because he's a good veteran, but at the same time, our team is probably going to be doing shit next season, so maybe it'll be easier to move him once the team actually starts off on a bad note or something like that. But maybe moving away from Ales Hemsky will actually make him a little bit more pissed off and want to leave, something like that. So let's anyways hop on into this draft and go find trade and see what we could potentially get for Ales Hemsky. I don't know if there's going to be a find trade option, so we might have to work out a deal on our own, but let's go to find trade and see if there's any deals thrown. There's none. What about like Patrick O'Sullivan, for instance? 18th overall, Tim Thomas in a second. I mean, that's not bad, but I would probably prefer just to hold on to O'Sullivan at that point, because I don't really need Tim Thomas at this point in his career. Tom Gilbert would get us also the exact same thing. Or Dustin Penner, a 3rd and a 4th. I don't really need Penner back. And then a 26th overall pick, Gustav Nyquist in a 2nd. That's kind of intriguing from Detroit, but I'm not sure if it's worth it. A late 1st round pick, we could probably change that to next year's first easily, but that would still be a late pick likely because Detroit should be a good team by that point still. Gus Nyquist at this point in his career is a 74 at 21. That's not bad, left-wing, right-wing playmaker. He's very offensively minded, not very defensive. I do like Gus Nyquist quite a bit. I'm just trying to think if the 56 and 26 would be worth it. Like, what's supposed to go around 56 and 26? at this point. Or I could try and see if I could get it for next year's pick instead. But what is supposed to go around 56 and 26 of these 2011 class? Or can I find a way to get it for next year instead? 26, we'd get we could get some generated guys like Fata, George Fata. There's also like Connor Murphy. Philip Deneau's not bad. This Jurdev guy, I honestly don't know how good this guy is. He looks actually pretty decent as an OFD. Huh. You know what? It might actually be worth the one right now, because if we draft this guy with the pick from Detroit, and then we get a second rounder, 56, it was around, let's see, around 56, we could probably get, and I don't really need Joe Morrow. Joe Morrow's pretty much not much of anything. This is a generated guy named Billy Caldwell. Looks like a good shooter, but tough to say. There's Joel Edmondson. We could actually address some defensive prospects. Mike Riley. Andrew Shaw's actually kind of interesting, too. He's going to be a good overall out of the draft, too. You know what? I think that's not a bad idea. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to make that deal with Detroit. I think it's almost actually a no-brainer at this stage, because getting basically those two players that we're just looking at in the draft and Gustav Nyquist for a guy that's going to be on a pending free agent deal, I think it's not bad. We got to probably capitalize on Gilbert's contract while we can, because he had a really good season. I would love to hold on to him maybe a little bit longer, but I think that's the best option for us as Kucherov just goes to the Rangers. We'll take a look at stuff like that in a little bit. But yeah, let's go back to that fine trade again for Gilbert and accept that deal from the Red Wings. I think that's a good deal for us. So it will be Tom Gilbert heading to Detroit. We get back a 26 overall pick, which is probably going to be that offensive defenseman, Gustav Nyquist, and 56 overall, which is likely going to net us maybe Andrew Shaw for the bottom six. I don't think that's a bad idea. So thank you, Detroit. Best of luck to Tom Gilbert in Detroit as well. Kind of sucks to trade away Tom Gilbert, because like I said, I kind of liked how he played this season, and I wouldn't mind holding on to him for a little bit, but he could end up making us too good, so might as well try and move on from him right now. We could also try and move on from Witt right now, but I don't know if Witt's going to fetch us much. 14 different deals. Tim Thomas a third and a fifth. No, thank you. 2 second-round picks is actually kind of nice. Rod Brind'Amour a third and a fourth. A second, a third, and Jonathan Blum. Second, a third, and Milan Jersina. Second, a second, and Mike Weaver. Alexander Radulov's rights. Martin actually, no, he signed for 6 years. Goddamn. I don't really want Radulov's contract for 6 years, but that's actually kind of nice. He's a good player, but he's a bit of a problematic goose egg. 28th overall in a second-round pick. That's not bad. I prefer futures, though, potentially with some of these deals. 17th and Zach Hill. That's kind of strange. Deal from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Send Whitney back to Pittsburgh. 29th in the second. 30th in the second at Frolov. I kind of don't mind that 17th one from Pittsburgh, but I would prefer a pick for a future year. So if I go to New Jersey, is New Jersey going to be really good next season? I don't really know. So if I traded a Witt to New Jersey and I take back their second for next year and a first for next year, would that work instead? Because I don't really want their first for this year. I don't know if it would work. We might have to add to this deal, but let's see if I could get their first for next year instead, because maybe it'll be a little bit lower than 28th. And the answer is no, insufficient. Do I have any deals I could or things I could throw into this deal? Since we'd be getting an unprotected first, we could always throw in like a 7th round pick for next year, maybe just to sweeten a deal a little bit. And that's accepted. Okay, so we do get a 1st round pick for next year. We just had to give up a 7th. I think that's a good deal for us. So we've offloaded 2 defenders. And now we got to find a way to move out from Ales Hemsky still. This is going to be the big one, of course, as LeBarbera goes to the Flames. Let me show you guys what Kucherov's looking like again, just in case you didn't ever play this franchise mode roster build. So this is what Kucherov's looking like out of the draft. He's a 78 overall depth forward, maybe a bit high out of the draft, but good offensive awareness, very good passing. His shooting categories haven't really developed. That's not great. I didn't realize he was going to be like that. It'll be interesting to see how much he scores, but he's got make it snappy, so maybe that make it snappy will help him score goals, but he's definitely going to pick up a lot of assists in his career with 92 passing and that offensive awareness being as high as it is. So There is Nikita Kucherov. And then the LaBarbera guy who's generated, looking like this, pretty generic sniper with good defensive awareness for some reason. All right, so let's see if we can pull off a trade with Ales Hemsky involved. I'm just not too sure on where we would want to trade him away to. Who is interested in Ales Hemsky? Boston is. They don't have the cap hit. Right now, we don't really care too much about bringing back salary cap because we could honestly sign it in the offseason, so in free agency. Florida's interested and they are cap compliant. Okay, we'll come back to Florida in a little bit. Minnesota also has interest. Florida and Minnesota, okay. New York Rangers also have interest, okay. I'm going to actually write these teams down so that way I could actually remember because I might honestly forget a team and I want to kind of weigh all of our options as much as possible because this is the best player on our team, right? So we want to get a good return for him if possible. Philadelphia also has interest. They are also going to be cap compliant. That's kind of surprising they would be cap compliant. Pittsburgh has interest. Of course Pittsburgh does. Make sure I'm typing this right. Let's see what else we got here. Tampa, they'd be over to cap. Toronto has interest, but Toronto probably has nothing for value. So I don't think I would trade him to Toronto, but we'll double check anyways. So the first team we got to take a look at is the Florida Panthers. What do they have that they could offer for Ales Hemsky potentially? They'd be way below the cap still too. So in terms of players that they have that have good value, I don't really want to be taking a good roster player. What do they have for prospects on their roster? Dadonov's not bad, 81 at 22. I feel like he'd make us too good right now, though. Justin Falk is a defensive prospect's pretty good. 76 at 19. Kind of like that. I kind of like that. Justin Falk. Do I like Justin Falk? I think I do like Justin Falk. Oh, man, of course I get interrupted. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins on his way to the New York Islanders. Let's go back to offer trade again. Oh wait, Hemsky stays there. That's kind of nice that it actually stayed where I was before. I appreciate that they're EA for actually doing something helpful. So Justin Falk, I'm going to write his name down as a potential option. So it'd be Falk we would take from Florida. We'd probably take in... I don't even know if they'd want to move picks and stuff. What other rookie skaters do they got? Anybody else in with good potential? I mean, like I said, Dadonov would be good, but I don't think he'd make us too good right now, probably. Jacob Markstrom is a prospect goalie. We don't really need goalie prospects that much, so not even going to look into goalie prospects. Draft picks. They don't really want to move futures. Well, they do want to move future second rounders, but not first rounders, which I understand. So it'd have to be like Falk, a second, and let's see what else. Maybe a future second as well. Yeah, it would probably have to be Falk in 2 seconds. So I'm going to write that down as a potential option. 27 and 28. Oh my goodness, it's hard to type when I'm actually trying to record too. So we'll put 27 and 28 second. So that's probably what the return would be from the Florida Panthers, is Falk in 2 seconds. So we'll come back to that one. Next team up is the Minnesota Wild. What do they have? That's interesting. So they don't have any second rounders this year or next year. That kind of makes it a bit tougher. And they do not want to move their first still too. What about prospects? Just Eric Howla. Yeah, I'm going to already eliminate Minnesota, I think, from the Ales Hemsky sweepstakes. I just don't think Eric Howla is what I would need. So I'm going to eliminate them from the sweepstakes for Ales Hemsky. So it's currently Florida in the lead. What about the New York Rangers? Would the Rangers have anything good at this point in time? Let's see. Carl Hagelin. I mean, Hagelin's only at 77 at 22, so he's not crazy good yet, but he would be good. He's also a playmaker. Good passing, not the craziest offensive awareness. Played last year in Hartford of the AHL, and didn't make the playoffs. Hagelin's not bad, but he's not really what I'm looking to get in terms of a prospect. And they don't have our first or second or third this year. Next year, they do have their second, but... yeah, they don't really have the prospect that I would want to take in as well. So I think I'm going to eliminate the New York Rangers from that list. What about the Philadelphia Flyers? We're probably going to get interrupted shortly again, so we got to prepare for that. But Philadelphia, they do have multiple second rounders this year. Next year, they do have their second. So as we get interrupted, there's Landeskog off to Ottawa. That's kind of cool because I met him at the NHL All-Star Fanfare back in 2012 when it was in Ottawa. So that's kind of neat when he was a rookie. Philadelphia, let's see what we got here, though. So, like I was saying, we could definitely take in their second round picks for 27 and 28, just like Florida's. Do they have a prospecto like Falk I could take in? Not really. Eric Gustafsson, Mark Pysyk, this guy named Bufflin, Marc-Andre Bourdon. Yeah, that's not really what I'm looking for. So, Philadelphia is going to be off the list. Pittsburgh. What about the Penguins? They would probably win a Stanley Cup if we make a trade with them. They don't really have prospects either, which makes sense. Like, Zach Sill's almost one of their best prospects right now. Draft picks. They would get rid of 17th this year. So it would have to be like 17th in a second or 2 seconds, which I don't really know if that's worth it. But I will write it down as an option just in case. So 17th and basically 27 and 28 second round picks. God damn, I can't even type when I can't even see my friggin' keyboard. So write that down as an option, maybe 17th and 2 seconds if we just want picks. I mean, I could probably trade for a future first round pick from them if I wanted to instead of Justin Falk. But I don't really remember if there's going to be somebody better than Falk next year. So I'll put their first for next year. And then 27 to 28 second rounders. Finally, we go to the Leafs. They probably don't have really anything at this point. Yeah, because currently they're drafting 6th overall, so they're not going to really want to move too many high up picks. So it doesn't really make sense from that perspective. They don't really have any prospects either, I don't think. They have Taylor Hall. We could get Taylor Hall into Edmonton like he should be, but Nazem Kadri. I mean, Niederreiter's good, but maybe they have prospects, but I feel like they need these prospects more. So I'm not going to trade Hemsky to Toronto because I think they're at this stage where they're still rebuilding, and I feel like I'm kind of cheesing it a bit if I'm taking all their good prospects, even though I don't like the Leafs. So I'm going to look into the Florida and Pittsburgh deal a little bit more. Pittsburgh, like I said, we could probably get their first round pick for next year, or we could take the 17th for this year. Their first rounder for next year is probably going to be later if we trade Hemsky there. Let's be real. 17th this year. Is 17th better than what Justin Falk is? Like, who's supposed to go at 17th currently in this year's draft class? I don't remember. Ricard Raquel. And don't really need Ricard Raquel. As Zibanejad goes to Columbus. Let's go back to draft class again. I think I'm leaning towards the Florida Panthers deal maybe a bit. We might be able to get more out of that deal too, potentially. But Ricard Raquel, Ryan Strome. I mean, these are not bad players. Apparently, Strome might be close to NHL ready. JT Miller's good, but I don't remember if I made him elite potential or top 6. I feel like I only made him top 6. William Karlsson, Vinny Trocheck. Like, it's good players around that stage. But I almost prefer to have a defensive prospect. And Justin Falk's a right demon, which is kind of nice. He's 76 at 19, so he's very much on the cusp of the NHL too. So he could definitely be like one of our right demon like Jeff Petrie and all that. I think I'm leaning towards trading with the Florida Panthers, which is interesting because Florida is also kind of a team that shouldn't be super good right now, but I guess they technically were better this season, or right around the same point as the Pittsburgh Penguins. So let's make this deal, I think. So we'll take in 2 second round picks for 27-28. And we'll also take in Justin Falk. If I have to add stuff or take more stuff, I might. So let's see. So Falk 76 at 19. The value looks pretty close on that. Let's be real. Like, it looks pretty damn close. I'm going to look at it a little bit more. Is there anything else I could squeak out of this deal? Probably not. Who else could I maybe squeak in? This guy's not bad as a medium top 6D, 70 at 19. And Safronov. He could end up becoming something. Maybe I'd take in Safronov as well. He's a right-handed shot that also plays lefty only. Or I could take in Reitz instead, but he's a little bit worse. Michael Repik's only a 75 at 22. Nokalainen 76 at 25. Let's go for... I'm trying to think. Let's go with Safronov as well in this deal if I can. So this is going to be the trade offer to the Florida Panthers. It might be lower than we can get for Hemsky, but I think it's the best bet. We get a defenseman that will be making our top 4 at some point for sure. 2 second-round picks that we can maybe turn into a future first-rounder. And we also get another defensive prospect in Safronov, who could be something, but also might not. So, Ales Hemsky, we'll see if you're off to Florida right now. Let's see if this deal goes through. And that's accepted. So, Ales Hemsky is on his way to Florida. They think they got a really good deal out of it. I think it's a good deal for both teams. Obviously, maybe we could have changed those 2 second-rounders to a future first-rounder instead. But Florida's a kind of a team that's in the in-between, I guess, right now. So I just didn't really want to risk stealing one of their draft lottery picks too much. So I think that's still a good deal for Hemsky, though. I think that's still a good deal. Like I said, maybe we change those 2 second-rounders into a future first down the road. And then I do not mind having a defensive prospect like Justin Falk. I think that's going to make our defensive core stronger. I don't even know why that still shows Hemsky there when you go offer trade after you trade him away. That's kind of glitched out because we don't have Hemsky anymore. That's kind of strange. Okay, well, anyways, what I was going to show you guys is Justin Falk. Like I said, I think he's going to fit this team quite nicely. And since he's a two-way defenseman, he's a bit more on the defensive end of things, but I think he should be good. And like I said, he could literally probably play in the NHL next season if we want to, but we could just wait a year as well. Actually, he was AHL eligible. I forgot about that too. So he will at least get the play down in the minors with Springfield for sure. So there is the trade, as Johnny Gaudreau is a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's kind of disgusting. Kind of disgusting. Let's go back through these guys a little bit here, and then we'll kind of go through the rest of this draft faster and come back to who went where. But Nugent Hopkins, as I said, went to the New York Islanders, looking like this, just in case you guys wanted a little bit of info. And then Gabriel Landeskog on his way to the Ottawa Senators, looking like this. He's already NHL ready, of course, because he made his debut in the 2011-12 season. And then we also have Mika Zibanejad to Columbus, kind of a weird one. So there's Zibanejad, and then Johnny Gaudreau on his way to Toronto. Probably should have made him a lower overall, but then again, he did kind of debut near the end of the 2013-14 season. So, but his shooting's only 1 star right now. I guess maybe I should have readjusted the shooting attributes better. I wonder how these guys are going to assimilate, because maybe I made guys that should be better shooting way worse than they were. But then again, I used ChatGPT for this, so honestly don't know. But he's going to definitely be a really good passer, at least, so we'll see if these guys end up simulating good or not. But let's simulate to our pick at 24th and make our first selection. As Josh Manson's a member of the Ducks, that's pretty sick. We'll see more of that once we get to the end of this draft. But our first selection, we are going to be taking, I think it's Zhurdev, right? Yeah, it was Zhurdev I was going to select here. What pick do we have after this? Again, I just got to make sure I'm making the right calls with my picks. 24, 26, and an early second. And oh wow, we have 3 second rounders. We have a lot of picks in this year's draft now because of those trades, but we're loading up a little bit. We could always trade some for futures maybe too, but I think we're going to end up going for Zhurdev here because he could be really interesting. He looks almost NHL ready too. Gives us another defensive prospect that's an OFD to maybe build around. So Miroslav Zhurdev, you know you're generated. We're going to take you. Boom. 68 overall. Pretty damn good. Kind of surprised the Ducks didn't take him. Only medium 4 potential, but should be pretty good. Like I said, he's AHL eligible too, so maybe we get this guy into the AHL faster, but looks good. Looks good. No X factors, but could be still a good player. All right, let's simulate to 26. See what we can snag up here. As Sven Barchi's now a member of the Montreal Canadiens. Kind of strange. We could go for Boone Jenner, but there was also Andrew Shaw. Shaw's supposed to go next round, though, right? Yeah, we could definitely get Shaw with the next pick, so I could definitely go for somebody else here. I feel like Boone Jenner's not a bad option. I do like Boone Jenner for his face-offs. I don't really need Connor Murphy. Philip Deneau's also good for face-offs. 3 years out. Who would I prefer, Deneau or Boone Jenner? There's also a guaranteed medium top 6 power forward that's generated in Owen Kavanaugh. He's like Milan Lucic. Dylan DeMello's not bad, but we picked up a lot of defensemen recently now, so I think we are going to go for Boone Jenner just because he's supposed to go higher than Deneau. Honestly, don't know who I would prefer, but I'm going to go with Boone Jenner. Let's see how good he is because I don't remember. 67 overall, high top 9. I don't remember if I made Deneau high 9 as well or not, but high 9's pretty good. 67 at 18 is a good starting point too. And like I said, good face-off attributes for Boone Jenner. Doesn't have quick draw, but he should be a good face-off man for us, maybe as a third-line center. So I kind of like that. Obviously, he's going to be a few years out still, but I think that's a good little addition just to make us maybe a bit better in terms of winning more face-offs and all that. So I'll definitely take it. All right, 44. I might look into taking Andrew Shaw around this point, because Andrew Shaw is very close to NHL already too. So Nathan Beaulieu is not really much of anything. A lot of these guys aren't. Stefan Nason. Yeah, I think I'm going to go a little bit off the board and go for Andrew Shaw with this selection. Just because he's pretty close to NHL already. I'm pretty sure I only made him like a high bottom 6 or medium bottom 6, but he should be still a useful, kind of grindy bottom 6 guy. And obviously he's got championship pedigree. So let's bring in Andrew Shaw with this next selection. Boom. And he's a 73 overall, high bottom 6. So yeah, he's not going to really become the craziest player in the world, but as a grinder, he should do what he's intended to do, which is be aggressive and physical on the puck, help us out maybe a bit defensively. So I like that a little bit. So that's good. All right, 54th, because we do have multiple second-round picks, says the Florida Panthers want to give us a third and a sixth for this second-round pick. I'm going to decline that, but is there anybody interesting around this point, or should we trade our second-rounders? It's not the craziest players for sure. Wallet, I'll say, but it's Ouellet too, kind of. Morrow, Edmondson, Nesterov. I don't remember if I made any crazy steals in this draft class or not. Gotta double check. Jordan Binnington is a goalie prospect. I don't really need goalie prospects. That's the thing. Trying to think if I want to trade away these second rounders or not. Because if we go to our draft board, we have 2 second-round picks, right? Still, yeah, we could probably trade these 2 late second-rounders, maybe get it to another team, but I don't know what we would get for both of them. And then we could just make our normal selections after that. Like, I probably didn't really need to bring in second-rounders for this year, but let's see if there's a potential trade for... Actually, I didn't want to press X, goddamn. I don't know if there's a potential trade for these 2 second-rounders that would work. So let's see. Ron Hainsey, a third and a fourth. No Danku. Boschman, a 7th. Brindamore, a third and a 4th. A lot of veterans. Don't need them. Radulov's right still. Or not right still. Him signed for 6 years. A 4th and Andy Wisniewski. I don't want Radulov right now because he's going to make us too good. Second rounder and Carl Hagelin. You know what? New York Rangers, I would rather take that than basically what's projected at this spot. We're going to do this deal with the New York Rangers. We're just going to bring in Carl Hagelin because I think he's worth a second-round pick. So it's almost like a pick swap kind of deal. So let's do it. Boom. There we go. So Carl Hagelin is joining the Edmonton Oilers. We do have another prospect into our future for our forwards at least that we can maybe develop. Don't mind that whatsoever. And we move away 2 second-round picks. We get a second-rounder for next year. So just because I think, honestly, the second round is kind of weak. Like, it's not worth taking guys like Xavier Ouellet or Joe Morrow. It's just not. I would prefer to have Hagelin at that point. So let's assimilate to our next pick at 84th, and then we'll see if we could find any AI steals because we're probably near the end of the prospects I made. So, I mean, Thomas Yurko is still there, but we could go for another goalie prospect maybe, just because this guy could be elite. What about you, Nilsson? Oh, wait, no, it's not that Nilsson I was thinking of. Nicholas Nilsson, 5 years out, 18 years old, and then there's Danielson. Danielson had a 924 in Sweden, goddamn. I know it's generated stats, but damn, that's good. Oh, there's also still Iiro Pakarainen, who actually did play for the Oilers at one point. And Mika Salamaki, too. And it's not really worth taking those type of guys, so I'm just going to go for a goalie prospect and hope he's an elite goalie. So, Lars Danielson, let's bring you in, sure. And he is an elite goalie, so, I mean, it's not necessarily something we need, but it's something that we could always trade around the league if we need to give us maybe some other players too. So, Lars Danielson, not looking too bad. At least, like I said, it gives us more goalie options if Dubnyk's not the guy going forward. I know he was good this season, but he wasn't good in the playoffs whatsoever. So finding a goalie that actually works in the playoffs is going to be something we need to look for at some point. So let's simulate to next pick at 114. See if we can find anything here. But for the most part, the rest of this draft class isn't the craziest. Laurent Brossoit is not bad, but I would prefer him to go to an AI team at this point. Don Archibald. Doesn't look the craziest. Ulf Hagos. You know, I might take a chance on one of those guys at their low leads. Let's take a chance on Ulf Hagos for fun. Boom. And he's a medium 9. I mean, that's not bad, I guess. Could be a lot worse. So, Ulf Hagos joins the Oilers. And it will simulate to 144. See if we can find anything here or not. Corey Mills. What about you? Dmitry Kavasha. Goalie prospect and Liam Brodin. Is there anybody that might be a low lead? There's Hagman, actually, maybe. Eno Hagman. He is 19. 4 years out, though. Let's take a chance on Hagman. We love some Finns around here. Low 9. 63 is pretty solid, I guess, for a 19-year-old, but not the greatest potential. I don't know if some of these guys are even going to pan out, but might as well just take some. I could trade away these picks, but I honestly don't really think I want to cheese AI, potentially. Kari Lume might be a little late here. Yeah, let's take a chance on Lume. Sure. Boom. And he is a low top 9 as well. Damn. That's unfortunate. But he has a 60 at 18, which is a solid starting point. Like, at worst, maybe some of these guys become good AHLers, so. And our last pick of the draft at 204. Can we find any crazy steals with this last pick of the 2011 draft? Wolski. Clarence Wolski. Watch, he's going to be a low 9 as well or something like that. Let's take a chance on Clarence Wolski. Bam. And he is also a low 9 as I expected. Goddamn. Okay, guess I don't want to take a chance on any of those low elite guys anymore, but Grinder as well. So in general, I would say it's kind of a draft, but we do end up getting Zherdev, who should be a solid defensive prospect, just because we made obviously that trade with Detroit. We did get Boone Jenner because of that deal mostly, though. We also grabbed Andrew Shaw. We then also drafted an elite goalie prospect, which is nice. The rest of the players are kind of crapshoots, but the first 4 selections should all make the NHL at some point, I would hope for. So, not too bad on that front. Let's take a look at the entire league's draft and see where these players went. So, starting off with Kucherov, obviously we saw him going to the Rangers, Nugent Hopkins to the Islanders, Landeskog to Ottawa, Zibanejad to Columbus, Gaudreau off to Toronto, Scheifele went to the Flyers, Couturier to Chicago, Huberdeau to St. Louis, Hamilton to Atlanta, Adam Larson in Nashville, Brandon Saad to Carolina, JT Miller on his way to the Coyotes, Ricard Raquel to Florida, Jonas Brodin to Pittsburgh, Ryan Strome to Boston, William Karlsson to Buffalo, Oscar Klefbom to Dallas, Vincent Trocheck to San Jose, Josh Manson to Anaheim, which is pretty sick, Sven Barchi to Montreal, Connor Murphy to New Jersey, Philip Deneau to Vancouver, and then we head to the second round, Dylan DeMello to Columbus, Toby Reeder to the Yotes, that's cool, JG Pajot to the Flyers, Barclay Goodrow to Chicago, Ryan Murphy to St. Louis, Joel Armia to Colorado, Adam Lowry to the Blues. That's actually kind of sick because obviously his dad used to play for the St. Louis Blues. Vladislav Nemesnikov to Calgary. Obviously we took Andrew Shaw, Klaus Delbeck to Ottawa, Ryan DeZingle to Toronto. Don't like that. Victor Rask to Colorado, Nathan Beaulieu to Boston, Blake Coleman to Ottawa, Scott Mayfield to Toronto, Jamie Alexiak to San Jose. Aside from that, Stefan Nason to the Rangers, Xavier Ouellet on his way to the Yotes, Joe Morrow to the Rangers, Joel Edmondson to the Blues, that's pretty sick, and Nick Seeler to Buffalo. Nikita Nesterov to Dallas, Scott Harrington to the Islanders, John Gibson on his way to Ottawa. Obviously, I could have went for a goalie prospect like John Gibson, but I didn't really want to. Mike Riley on his way to Columbus, which I think he was actually drafted by, and then he was traded to Minnesota, or he signed with Minnesota as a free agent, so that's kind of realistic. Matt Nieto to Chicago. Marcus Granlund, I think that one is, to Colorado. Dmitry Jaskin to Boston. On Alexei Marchenko. Yeah, I think that's Alexei Marchenko to Minnesota. Sean Corrali to the Coyotes. Jyrki Jokipaka to San Jose. Adam Clendening to Nashville. Nick Cousins to Carolina. Travis Boyd to New Jersey. Jordan Bennington to the Coyotes. Freddie Claesson to Tampa. He did play in Tampa a little bit in his career. Iro Pakarainen on his way to the Coyotes as well. Mika Salomaki to New Jersey. Yurko and Brett Ritchie. Yeah, I think that's Brett on his way to Buffalo. Matt Pumple to the Rangers. Frank Corrado to Atlanta. Damn, I made so many prospects I almost forgot about all these guys. Ty Ratty to Ottawa. Andy Andreoff on his way to Columbus. Max McCormick to Florida. Alan Quine to Philadelphia. Tyler Grauvick to Chicago. Lucas Sedlak to Calgary. Logan Shaw on his way to Atlanta. Scott Wilson to Minnesota. Shane Prince to Florida. Josh Levo to Calgary. Colin Blackwell to Nashville. I'm pretty sure that might have been where he was drafted, or he definitely played there early in his career. Ryan Sproul to Carolina. Rocco Grimaldi to the Coyotes. Joseph Cramarosa. I honestly forgot I made all these kind of guys. Cramarosa to Florida. Josh Archibald to Colorado. Matthew Peck on his way to Boston. Anton Forsberg to San Jose. Lauren Brossoit to Detroit. Roman Horak? No, Roman Horak would have already been in this, so that's got to be a generated Horak. Aside from that, that might be it. Unless there's some goalie prospects that I'm missing. Just double checking on this. Sorry if that was a little bit redundant of me saying all those names. Garrett Sparks went to Washington, but it's kind of interesting to see where all these dudes went. Because I know some of you guys would be like, oh, look, Garrett Sparks went there. Leafs legend, you know? That type of thing. I don't see anybody else. If I'm missing somebody, I will be... Oh, actually, there's Lucas Lesio. I don't think he was supposed to be in this draft class. I think he was supposed to go with last year's draft class, but he must have went undrafted, maybe. But he ends up in Detroit. Aside from that, I think that's the rest of the draft. Just double checking. Hey, there's a guy named Hemsky in this draft class. We should have went for that guy. Just because we traded away a Hemsky. Alright, so there is the 2011 NHL draft. Quite a busy one. A lot of random names in that class. At least the draft classes should get better from here on out a little bit. But let's hop on into the re-sign stage now. And see who we got to re-sign. I don't think we have too much people to re-sign, but maybe we do. We do want to find new coaches to make us weaker. So we are going to actually just let go of all of our coaches pretty much. We are going to also fire a head coach who literally just won the Jack Adams, because we're not trying to be a good team next season. So we're going to look for a whole new coaching staff in the NHL. AHL, I might keep it the same except for the associate because he's low rated. We want good coaches maybe in the AHL, but not so much in the NHL. So let's go with that. Scouts, so do we need to bring back any of these scouts? I guess some of them are good rated, so we'll bring them back. But we definitely need to look into upgrading our scouts this offseason a little bit, just in case. Because obviously that way we could get a better understanding of these draft classes. Maybe I'll let go of the ones that are C-rated. Yeah, I will. Boom. Let's do that. Alright. So, what do we got to re-sign this offseason before we look at the free agents and all that? So, in terms of RFAs, we got some big ones here. Starting off with Andrew Cogliano. We do have $32 million in cap space, so we do need to be cap compliant. I might let go of some of the random AHL guys, but let's see, unsigned. Maybe we'll give Burmistrov his ELC already, but he's not AHL eligible. Might as well just give him a contract, so maybe he actually starts growing a bit. Or maybe it looks like he actually might be AHL eligible. Maybe in Custom League, no matter where they play, they could play in the AHL. I guess, because he's not, he was playing in Barrie, so he shouldn't be AHL eligible yet. We might as well give Andrew Shaw a contract then, too, while we're at it. Because he, look, it just shows now that he's AHL eligible, so I guess maybe in Custom League I could literally put these guys in the AHL right away, even if they were in junior. And we'll also sign Safronov already, too, because those guys are all good overalls. The rest of these dudes I might leave unsigned. Some of them we could sign in next episode if you guys think any of these guys should play in the AHL, like Toffoli or not. But it looks like anybody could literally play in the AHL right away. So if there's anybody we want to play, we could probably play them. So, in terms of RFAs, we are going to let go of some of these RFA guys. Actually, let's go to UFAs first. Okay, we're definitely letting go of Jake Taylor. No offense to Jake Taylor, but you're a 64 out of 27, my man. We're going to let you go. You're not much of anything. Also, let go of Colin Freder and Chris Menard just to free up some roster space in the AHL a bit. We are going to let go of Jason Throwback from the NHL for sure. I wouldn't mind holding on to Ryan Jones as just a bottom 6 option for now, so let's see what he wants. Oh, he wants a 2-way deal. You know what? You got that, man. Take the money. Whenever you're going to want a 2-way deal, we'll definitely do it. I mean, that's helpful just to keep that depth a little bit. Might as well hold on some of these AHLers. Because we might as well run some 75s in the NHL next season if we want to. Just to make us as much as bad as possible in that bottom 6. And Jeff Delorier coming back would be good. Oh yeah, I should have looked to trade away Nikolai Hebibulin. That's something that I should have done at the draft, but I could do it in the next episode, so. What is Delorier wanting? A 2-way deal. You know what? We'll bring back Delorier on a 2-way for now. Might be able to flip him away anyways if we need to, but let's go through these RFAs here. We might as well just bring back some of these guys on 1-year deals that want 1-year deals just to keep the AHL somewhat complacent. We'll do a 1-year deal for you, though, Truckno. Truckno used to have good potential. Like, I think in some of the other old NHL games, he used to have potential, but he obviously didn't really pan out. Ryan O'Mara, yeah, you're 24 only too, so we might as well bring you back as well on a 1-year deal. Try and get these guys only for 1 year, so that way we're not signing them too long term. Liam Reddick could honestly be on our NHL roster next season again, so we might as well just give him a multi-year deal at this point. I mean, we have the cap space. We are going to need probably a cap whale on this team. Let's be real. Lucas Spiza does want a 2-way deal for now as well. We will give him it. Taylor Chorney, same thing. He might be on our defensive core though next season. So, yeah, let's just do that. Ladislav Smid is going to want probably an actual 1-way contract, right? Yes, he is. That's what I thought. 2-year deal for me is good for Schmid. We'll also give him a little bit more money just to get us closer to the cap floor. But we'll take Laddie Schmid on a 2-year deal. And then Andrew Cogliano is the big one out of these RFAs. A 3-year deal only at 2.5. That would walk him right away to free agency, which is not ideal. Like, I kind of prefer maybe something longer term, but he is kind of a trial run player. You know what? Let's do it, and we'll also up the money to 3x3. Just to kind of just keep us maybe closer to cap compliance, oh my goodness, what I'm saying, cap compliancy for the next few years. So we'll do 3x3 and see if he accepts that. And then that should be good. We are going to definitely need some big cap whales on this team or sign some players to big contracts. So Cogliano's on board. Of course, Truckno's on board. O'Mara as well. And that is everybody that needs a contract. So we got $29.98 million to spend. We also have 11 contract spaces. And currently this is what we have in terms of a roster going into next season. We have Dubnyk, Hebibulin, Delorier. Hypothetically, I would like to trade away Hebibulin, but we might need him to stay cap compliant. So, not too sure on that. Also, Dubnyk's a pending UFA at the end of the year, so we have to make a decision with Devin Dubnyk if we want to sign him for a few years and hold on to him while we wait for guys like Grubauer or not. But likely it would be Dubnyk and Delorier. Hebibulin would probably be in the AHL unless we trade him. And we do need another goalie if we do trade away Hebibulin. So Grubauer might get his ELC if we do trade away the Bullen Wall next episode. So there's the goaltending. Defensively, we got Petrie, Schmid, Chorney, Spiza. Justin Falk is on pace to make our defensive core next season. Like I said, I do like Justin Falk, but I don't know if he's ready yet. Maybe 1 year in the AHL would be okay. So I think we need some filler defensemen for sure. So let me write down what we actually need so that way I can kind of look into what we actually need more so. So we only have technically like 4 NHL defensemen, so we could probably use 2 defenders and then 1 depth defender. That way Justin Falk could stay in the AHL maybe for 1 more. So we'll do that. And then from an offensive standpoint, we got 1, 2, 3. Let's just say we play Stortini and McDonald. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I think we might honestly not need to sign really any forwards. Because we could honestly just run some 75s. Like right now, our top line's projected to be O'Sullivan, Gagne, and maybe Marc-Antoine Pouliot or Jordan Eberle. Second line would be probably like Cogliano with Horkov and probably the other right winger that's not on that top line. Third line, Brule, Nilsson, Jones. Fourth line, maybe Hagelin, Nash, and somebody like Reddix. So I think our forward group might be okay, but we do need to be cap compliant. So I don't think we really need to sign too much this offseason, but we do need to give people a lot of money so that way we hit that floor. So let's look into some free agents and see what's available, but we can also make some trades and upgrade certain areas if we want to, but obviously we don't want to be a good team next season if possible. So let's see. So we only need 2 defenders and a depth defenseman, so we'll just look into every area in case, though. There's some other options out there. So, in terms of free agents for the 2011 NHL or 2011-12 NHL season, we'll start with looking at the UFAs and the RFAs. So, goaltending wise, like I said, we don't really need a goalie unless we look for a backup goalie after we trade away the Bullwall, but we don't need to do that really. So there's Brzgalov and Jaguar, which is kind of funny. Both of them are in free agency at the same time. Mike Smith, Craig Anderson, Dwayne Rollison. Antti Niemi's back in free agency. Pascal Leclerc. Some solid goaltending options. But like I said, I don't think goalie's something we actually need to sign. I forgot that we have a salary still retained going into next season as well from one of our trades. It's probably Soure's contract, right? Can't remember who we retained on. From a defensive standpoint, like I said, we could use 2 defenders and a depth defenseman. Here's what's available. Rob Blake is the best. Mark Giordano. Damn, Giordano being a free agent already is kind of surprising. Chris Phillips, Andy Green, Adam Foote. Some guys that are coaches now, which is funny, and general managers and all that. So, Ian White, Scott Hannon, Kevin Bieksa. There's definitely some good defensive options. Like, Josh Georges is only 26. Not bad. But we don't want to be too good. Jack Hillen's only 25. I'm surprised that Jack Hillen's actually an 82. Kind of developed better than anticipated. Mark Mathot, Matt Hunwick. Yeah, there's definitely some guys we could just fill out our defensive core with. Like, Mark Mathot's not really a bad option. I also met the guy, like, 2 years ago, so. Matt Gilroy, Bruno Gervais as a right D-man. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of 26-year-olds we could kind of just bring in to fill out our defense. But we don't want to be too strong, too. So maybe we want look for lower-end guys like Ryan O'Byrne instead and Anssi Salmela. So that's that. From an offensive standpoint, Timo Solani's a free agent. Alexei Kovalev's a free agent, or Alex Kovalev, I could say, I guess. Mark Tant St. Louis is a free agent. So sorry to Saturn Otaku, it gets worse for your Tampa Bay Lightning. They don't get Kucherov, and St. Louis is a free agent at 36 years of age. Damn. Alex Koleek's available. Jamie Langenbrunner. Justin Williams is a free agent. That's a pretty big one. Pretty big loss for the LA Kings, considering he helped them win some Stanley Cups in real life. But there's some good forwards available, too. But we don't obviously want to be too good. So I'll probably look at the prospects that might have slipped through the cracks a bit. So there's that. Left wing, the best one is Ray Whitney. Andrew Burnett's there. Simone Gagne is a free agent. I'm kind of interested to see where a lot of these guys go in free agency. Hopefully some of them go to their actual teams. Ethan Morrow's back in free agency after we traded him away. Last season in Vancouver, he had 27 points. Not bad. Also made the playoffs. I forgot Vancouver went to the finals last year. So he went all the way to the Stanley Cup finals and lost to the Washington Capitals. So shout out to Ethan Morrow, who almost won a cup after leaving us. Teddy Purcell's a free agent at 25. Teddy Purcell would be interesting. He did also play in Edmonton for a little bit. Kind of like Teddy Purcell. He used to be one of my favorite players because I actually scored a superb man goal in a shootout in NHL 13 with him. So, I will never let that one down because I did like the jump deke and then I dived and knocked it in an online shootout back in NHL 13. And when you used to be able to take captures in the replay thing, good old times, good old times. So there's left wingers. Centers, Chris Drury's the best available. Doug Waite, Tim Connolly. There's definitely some good players. good veteran leaders, but I don't really know if there's anybody I would bring into this team. Mark Letestu, maybe. Maybe Mark Letestu. All right, so there is that. Let's take a look and see if there's any unsigned prospects that got dropped off or not. Let's actually go, UFA, and let's just go goalies. No, nobody really other than Scott Darling. Darling's not going to even pan out, probably. Georges is one of the best youngest guys in with Mark Mathot. Right wingers, Steve Bernier. Left wingers, Nigel Dawes. Nigel Dawes would be kind of still interesting, but he might make us too good. Rob Schremp, bring him back to Edmonton might not be a bad idea. All right, so there is some young guys, but not crazy. What about the RFAs this year? Is there any crazy RFAs that are still holding out right now? So right now there's a lot of RFAs, so hopefully some of these guys actually get contracts and don't hold out the entire year. But Claude Giroux, Alec Martinez, Anton Strawman. Yeah, there's some pretty good RFAs trying to get paid the big bucks. What about goalies? Just Ben Bishop. All right. Ben Bishop would be an interesting goalie, but we do have goalie prospects, so we don't really need him too much. All right, so that's that. Anything else we want to take a look at? Might as well look at the coaches that are available, just because we are going to need a new head coach and associate goalie coaches, everything like that. We obviously don't want somebody too good overall, though, so we aren't going to be going for guys like Parse or Kessler. We're going to look down at the C-rated coaches that might work good with our younger options. So let's take a look at these guys. It might not even say how good they are with our younger options, though, because these guys are like AHL coaches. So we might just have to sign some really bad coaches and hope that they work with our NHL players. I mean, this guy's an NHL assistant coach, so maybe he would show. Yeah, this guy might be an option. I mean, he doesn't work the best with Gagne and such, but he might be an associate coach for us or an assistant. Same with maybe some of these other dudes like Watt. Yeah, we probably look into some of these dudes down there just because they're actually listed as NHL coaches. So we definitely want somebody with a good teaching grades, though, too, potentially. That are NHL coaches that are low rated, which is kind of tough to find. But that's definitely something we need to find is just bad coaches, so we're not going to over-simulate. This guy's got a good teaching grade, and he's a C coach. So, Earlio McPherson, really good fit with Sam Gagne. Really good fit with him. Didn't expect that. Jordan Eberle is pretty solid, too. And then, where is Cogliano? He's not on that list for some reason, but he's a 65% team fit, this guy, as a C-rated coach. Well, I think we found our coach. It's probably got to be that McPherson guy. At least he's one of the coaches that we bring in for next episode. So that's that. Final few things I guess we got to take a look at is the trading block, just in case there's any more trades to be had. But I think for the most part, we know what we need to do next episode is just sign players to fill out our roster and make us more cap compliant. And then hopefully find some coaches that can make us not simulate too good, but maybe still work on our young guys while they're not simulating good. So I'll just skim through all the players on the block, and I'll remove my face. You guys can kind of see everything a little bit more in depth, but let's see if there's anything out there. But I think what we have to do, and it'll be interesting to see what the AI teams do in terms of signings this offseason in the next episode. Like, that's always one of my favorite things about these throwback franchise modes is just kind of seeing what kind of chaos happens around the league. Like, it's kind of fun just to see random players go to teams they never would have played for or never played for. Crazy trades as well. So hopefully there's some of that in the next episode. But we'll just skim through this. I'm not going to even read anything out. So if you guys see anything you like, let me know. My voice is kind of sore, and I've been talking like crazy for almost an hour while recording this. So I just don't want to use too much more of my voice. I was already at the gym earlier today before recording this video, and I'm not used to going to the gym that early in the morning, so I'm kind of overtired. And you guys can probably tell that because I'm a lot more talkative, and I don't have to clear my voice as much, which is also kind of a surprise, but because I'm not used to waking up at 9:30. I know 9:30 is not early for some people, but 9:30 I woke up went to the gym, and I already got a workout done before like friggin' 1 o'clock, so kind of interesting because I'm starting to go to the gym now 5 days a week rather than 4, so it's kind of a lot more than I anticipated going originally, but should be good. So wow, Shane Doan's on the block. That kind of sucks that Shane Doan's on the block, because it would have been kind of cool to see him win a cup with the Coyotes in this franchise mode, but who knows, maybe he'll win a cup in this last year and then sign somewhere else in free agency next year. Martin Biron. Tampa, Bill Guerin. Shout out to Bill Guerin for making the worst American team, though. Like, I saw that they almost lost to Norway the other day. After having a 5-1 lead, sorry, I got interrupted by a friggin' leaf blower, because these people like going out right when I'm recording for some friggin' reason. Washington's got some prospects, not really a surprise. So there is the trading block. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Edmonton Oilers Throwback 2010 franchise mode. So next episode, we will take it to free agency. We might start some of the 2011-12 season, but I'm not too sure how much of it. If we do, we might just try and get a roster configured, like kind of just do some goals for the season and stuff like that, kind of set up the team. So we probably might not simulate much, but we might go through the preseason already, something like that. But should be interesting to see what our team does next season. Hopefully it's a bad season, but hopefully it's a good season for the young guys that are obviously going to be part of the core future of this team. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.